Okay, I think I'm live. You never really know, but welcome to another live episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So this week, I'm going to be talking about a few things. First and foremost, E3 2017. Man, did it suck, or it did suck? Well, we're about to talk about that, so I'm going to spend most of my time talking about that. And then the second part of it is I want to talk about Amazon buying Whole Foods. Okay, and if you're probably wondering how this is related to being a geek or technology, it's completely related to it. And so let's go ahead and start with E3 2017. And that just wrapped up about maybe about a day ago officially. I think it wrapped up on the 15th. And as usual with E3, there's always going to be the good, the bad, the controversial, and so forth. And in general, my overall feelings about this particular E3, because it sucked. It's mostly boring, and predictable. That's the short end of it. But let's go over some of the things that was in E3. There's no way I could get around this. The very first part is EA, Electronic Arts. I don't use that word cringe, and I think that's like a real popular word to use now, but cringe would be the perfect word to describe the EA conference for E3. And it looks so, it's kind of funny, it looks so like unprofessional. Okay, this is a huge multi-billion-dollar company. So just imagine, you are watching this, right? This is a big company, and then you have one of your actual people presenting, and they had YouTubers on there, and they mess up big time. And I'm not going to blame it all on the YouTuber itself, because a lot of these, since they are quote unquote planned, they're going to have teleprompters and so forth. Who knows what was going on, but that looks bad, And then there were other things, like when they were doing their FIFA part of it, the two commentators were out here and they missed high-fiving each other. I mean, you can't make that up. Or maybe like other parts of it where they had for Madden, they had like a drum, a drum presentation, playing drums. It's just, it looks so bad. Okay, then there were other things in that press conference as well. So the first thing is, it looked so unprofessional. It looked unplanned, to be honest with you. People were not getting the right names. It just seems like things were off. Now, the second part of that E3 press conference that I really did not like and was kind of unexpected, it seemed so fake. They had some gamers on there and just going crazy over the EA experience, and none of that seemed real. So much of it seemed staged and artificial, okay, which is not a good thing. And all of these E3 things, they have to be very well planned out. They are done way in advance, and so technically they should be very I guess more organized. And then in terms of the authenticity, you try to be as authentic as possible. But the whole time I was watching this E3 press conference, I was thinking, number one, this is a horrible conference, and then number two, the experience was just so fake. About the only good thing about the E3 press conference was Star Wars Battlefront 2. I really enjoyed that. I don't have a console, and Star Wars Battlefront isn't available on Linux, but a lot of people enjoy that. And so out of the whole presentation, I actually enjoyed Battlefront 2 the best, and also having the stormtroopers and everything out there. Oh, great. I got some people in there. Shatter, how's it going? Let me see. I'm not sure. Let me see who else is on here. I don't know if I could click on that. Well, I can't tell. So let me see. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do it on this live to see who's on there, but there's 3 people watching. So thanks for coming on. Let me see if there's a way that I could see that. Okay, I can't see it. All right. Thank you so much for being on here. So going on with the E3 2017 with the EA's press conference, let me see, what else did they have? They had Madden, of course, with the new story mode, and I don't know what they're trying to do there. A story mode for a football game. Okay, I guess, they could add a career mode and so forth, and they'll be able to sell you more things, maybe new uniforms or something, I guess. Let me see. Other than that, FIFA, obviously FIFA is huge. Maybe not here in the United States, but the rest of the world, people love soccer. People love football. I mean, the real football, and not American football, which you're not playing with your feet. So that was probably the highlight of E3. So if you want to watch a very cringe-worthy, very fake-looking part of the E3, then watch the EA press conference, okay? So moving on from electronic arts, and I'm going this kind of like in order of the ones that I thought were kind of like boring or just unoriginal, all the way up to the ones that I thought were really good, okay? So that's kind of where I'm going. So the second press conference that I think was very predictable and boring was Sony's press conference, and release party stretch. Okay, David, oh, cool. Now, the Sony press conference, wow, I was expecting a lot because normally Sony's press conference, they do an amazing job pretty much almost every single year. And one thing that Sony is really focused on and they're really good about is the games. They always focus on the games, and that's primarily why people go to the Sony platform, okay? Because they just simply have better exclusives. They have a better variety of games. They have more indie games as well, and so Sony is usually known for that. But this year, they didn't really have anything for this year, as a matter of fact. Everything that they were showcasing, everything that they were announcing, the big stuff, like God of War, or Spider-Man, they were all for next year, okay? And it's really not a good thing for Sony to be presenting that, and a lot of this we already saw the year previously. And they also showed like Gran Turismo Sport again, and that's not coming out till next year. And I think the Gran Turismo brand is actually going down ever since Forza has basically taken their place. Now, they also showed Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty, but it's exclusive to Sony. But I don't know. I mean, it's another Call of Duty, And so even though it is going back to its roots, okay. And then there was also Destiny 2 shown, and they showed a lot of VR games, and I think the whole momentum of VR, it has gone down. Ever since they released it, there hasn't really been much that's come out that's really been like amazing. I have to get a Sony VR headset. And VR is a hard thing to do, and so everybody's trying to get into the Shelter, you're right. VR at this point, it sucks. I mean, it really does. I mean, it's better than it was before, but it's still not an experience that you have to have, And at the same time, I still get dizzy out of it. It's very I would guess uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable, almost to a lot of extent unplayable, because you're going through all these things and you get dizzy, and so that's not the type of experience the majority of gamers will want, or even just somebody who's a casual gamer, okay? And in order for them to get more market share, the technology is very important in this case, okay? In the sense that the technology does not affect your actual gameplay experience, okay? So they're still not there yet. And so Sony spent a good deal of time, showcasing the VR games. And honestly, there really wasn't anything that stuck out. And if anything, the weird things that stuck out, there was a Final Fantasy fishing game. Like, what? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. And yeah, I didn't get that at all. That came out of nowhere. There was also a horror VR game as well. And there was another game that looked very similar to The Last of Us, but it had a zombie feel. I think it was State of Decay. And I think they showcased that the year before as well. So, yeah, on the whole, Sony's press conference was boring. Like, so boring, and they weren't offering anything new to gamers for this year. You know, and even the offerings next year, I know they probably have a lot of other things that they are planning. It's like, besides God of War, oh yeah, they did a Shadow of Colossus remake. Yeah, there really wasn't anything else, which is unfortunate because with Sony you expect so much. And I remember last year, not even being a console owner, because I saw the Sony press conference, Shenmue 3 was announced there. That is huge, and obviously I became a backer. And then there was the other game, the sequel to Ico, and which is the sequel or the prequel to Shadow of Colossus. You know, that didn't do too well when it was finally released, but that was a huge thing last year as well during E3. I'm pretty sure it was last year's E3, and so this year that momentum was just basically lost. Okay, and so Sony's press conference, boring. At least it wasn't cringe-worthy. So moving on, Ubisoft, and so shots are saying, in my opinion, for your regular live stream, always keep it on schedule time so many people can join you. Yeah, I'm trying, Shatter. So I'm gonna try on Saturdays around 9 or 10 in the morning, mostly 9 in the morning, at least my time. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. So last week was about the same time. So thank you for that. And Gaza It was on there. Thanks, Gaza, for being on here. In my opinion, E3 is all about the whole Halo announcement. It's the same. It's not in Steam. Yeah, it's owned by Microsoft. And so, you know, that's kind of no way around that. And, you know, if you had any thoughts on E3 while I'm talking about it, please be sure to comment because, you know, being geeks, you know, we enjoy, I think for the majority of geeks, we kind of enjoy similar things, you know. A lot of geeks enjoy video gaming, you know, whether it's console or PC or handhelds. We love video games, so, and I love video games, so I'm going to talk about it. So the next press conference I want to talk about is Ubisoft. And Ubisoft gets a bad rap, and deservedly so, because they've done some pretty horrible thing, just especially with the glitchy Assassin's Creed a few years back. But, so here are some things that are out there. Skull and Bones, a Super Mario Brother collaboration with Rabbids, and Rabbids, if I remember correctly, was officially first, I think they were first showed up in the Rayman game. Rayman is an awesome game. And Skull and Bones, and also some new clips of Far Cry 5, which I think is going to be a big seller, and another Assassin's Creed Origins, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So Gaza Imp says, Stimp follows different philosophy, a much better one at that. Yeah. And so, now I guess the biggest thing coming out of Ubisoft was the Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now this game came out, like, was it 2009? I can't remember. And they also had a remake as well, an HD version, I think in like, was it 2011? I can't remember. It's an old game. And I don't ever remember playing Beyond Good and Evil, you know, but it had this female character and it has a pig. You know, it's kind of weird, this alternate, I guess, fantasy universe. And then in this this actual announcement on Beyond Good and Evil 2, they showed I guess a CG trailer. A lot of cursing. That was kind of surprising. So that's kind of what caught my attention. They showed the pig character at the beginning and just cursing, and then the monkey character. And so I've never played the original. So if any of you have played that or remember it, you know, you'll be sure to leave it there. And a lot of people love this game, but I've never played it. So that was probably the highlight of that particular actual conference. Okay. So let's move on to Bethesda. Didn't really show anything. Honestly, I should have put this below the Ubisoft because about the only thing that they showed was a new Skyrim VR and more of it on Nintendo Switch as well. And then Evil Within 2 and Wolfenstein 2, like the official sequel, I guess, in that case. And I really, really love Wolfenstein. That was one of my first games right after Doom. Then I played the prior game before that, which is Wolfenstein. So also Fallout 4 VR and Doom VR. Okay, those might turn out really well for VR, especially Doom VR. So yeah, if you love Doom, then it's gonna be pretty sweet. So Bethesda right there. So nothing really, I would say, once again, nothing really amazing out of that. So let's move on to the two parts of the E3 that didn't suck. I mean, weren't like super duper amazing, but at least they showed something that kind of got you excited. Okay, so let's get right into Microsoft's press conference. Honestly, I didn't really care about any of the games. I'm just being real, okay? There was Anthem and Crackdown 3. What I really want to talk about is Xbox One X. Now, we all knew this was coming with Project Scorpio. And honestly, I think Project Scorpio is a cooler name. But they officially announced Xbox One X. And this is the most powerful console ever made. Of course, you know, it's always going to be the most powerful normally if it's the newest. But in this case, I think Microsoft is doing something hardware-wise that makes a lot of sense during this time, because PC gaming, as you know, it's a beast, you know, and let me watch this again. And it's really something that I think console makers, all of them, are afraid of. Okay, because PC gaming is just so good nowadays, and if you want the best experience, I really still believe the best experience, gaming experience, it's gonna be on the PC. Okay, it looks the best. You have more options. You have more, I guess, ways to upgrade your gaming experience. Okay, whereas in the console, you're kind of fixed to whatever that hardware can provide at that time, even though the games are better optimized for consoles. And so the reason why the Xbox One X, in terms of a hardware point of view, I think that's so interesting, is the fact that even though it's not a brand new generation of console, I think it is. And Microsoft went to great lengths to make sure this actually lives up to the hype when it comes to hardware. You know, just going through the specs, it's got a custom 8-core GPU, custom GPU, CPU, so it's not using the same Jaguar architecture that it had before. It's got 12 gigs of DDR5 memory, much bigger memory bandwidths, and 6 teraflop performance on their GPU, which is, I think, similar to a NVIDIA GTX 1060, if I'm not mistaken. And all of this is in a smaller form factor than the Xbox One S, which is pretty amazing. And it's going to be able to produce true 4K, you know, and they could also do the pseudo 4K as well, which the PlayStation 4 Pro does. And I'm very impressed by the fact that Microsoft was able to pack all this hardware in, very powerful hardware, into this particular machine. Okay, now everybody wanted to know what's the price, and it's $500. Well, they say $499, but come on, it's $500. And in the whole marketing world, if you have a 99 on anything, even though it's a $1 difference, people see more value in that than when it's an even price, just an FYI. And so $500, okay, for a lot of people, I think that's a crazy amount. But if you look back at all these game console releases, even back to the old days, I mean, the original Nintendo, or when I bought my 3DO, it was $600. Okay, so console prices being that high, I think even before the Atari, there was the Magnavox system. I think it was around the same price back in the 70s and 80s, and so, and that equivalent is about $1,000 today probably. So that price is not uncommon. Okay, and shots are saying $500. Come on, make a retro pie out of retro gaming. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to mention that, because if you've been a gamer or you're old enough to remember game consoles since the beginning, it's not uncommon for consoles to be that high. And if you think back then when there were $500-$600 in the 90s, 80s, this is like cheap compared to those back then. Okay, so the price is, even though it seems really high, if you compare it to previous history, it's not anything new. Okay, and for my thinking, for what the hardware is able to do, it does a lot. Okay, so Gaza Imp is saying, but for the everyday Joe, PC gaming is an ever moving target. The Xbox One X fills this need. It would be great if the console was modular for aftermarket products. I agree with you, Gaza Imp, and I think that was the whole purpose of Steam, the Steam box. That's really where they're going. And honestly, all of these console makers, I know that's where they're going as well. For the simple fact that the PC gaming is, hey Linux, hey what's up, hey Linux. And for the simple fact that the PC gaming market getting so big that the console makers, they know that it's eating into their market share. So I agree with you, that's where it's going to head. And like I said, Steambox was really trying to get into that early, but so far it hasn't had the success that it's wanted. And so going back to the price of $500, so for a lot of people, $500 is a lot of money for a gaming system. Okay, my general feeling is if you already have a game console, like an Xbox One X or the PS4, I really don't think you need the Xbox One X. And I'm going to go into that reason why. But the hardware itself, a lot of people who saw this, myself included, I'm thinking like, okay, for $500, I can build a PC that will give you equivalent performance. And that's normally true. Normally, for the same amount of money, you could get similar or better performance, and obviously you're just not getting a gaming machine, you're getting a computer as well, right? But in this case, at least right now, if you wanted to match this performance, and at the same time you also wanted the UHD Blu-ray drive in there as well, then you're gonna spend like $700 or $800 to get that performance right now. Okay, so at this point, I can't say if you wanted the same type of performance that this Xbox One X is going to give right now, that you can do that for $500. Okay, full 4K gaming, the UHD player, and like I said, that's not something that you need, but if you wanted to do it exactly like the Xbox One X or get close to it, then yeah. So Hey Linux says there's a 300-pound laptop on Amazon, 4 gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of storage space is good. Yeah, but what I'm talking about here is to match the specs of the Xbox One X. Okay, PC gaming is much more powerful than any console. That's true. That is true, but if you're talking like price for performance, then at this point in time, you cannot match it on a PC. I haven't seen it yet. I've looked at some YouTube videos myself, and even looking at the specs, you can't match that performance right now for $500, especially if you include the Blu-ray player as well. However, the Xbox One X would not be released till November of 2017. So as anybody who is a PC gamer or builds PCs knows, the price of things are always going to come down. So by the time the Xbox One X comes out in November, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to build a more powerful PC versus the Xbox One X. Okay, so that'd be really interesting to see what happens in November at that point. So Hey Linux asks, I really hate Microsoft probably because their price is so high. I'm okay with the Xbox 360, but I still hate Windows. Well, there's lots of things that, you know, I guess that is not great with Microsoft Windows. But at the same time, a lot of people like them as well. I myself, as you know, I love Linux. I prefer Linux. But going back to the console itself, so for $500 for this hardware, I think at this point in time, it's not unreasonable, and it's worth it for the performance you're getting, because you're going to get way more performance than any other consoles out there. Okay? And so besides the hardware itself, which is what Microsoft really focus on, is the hardware performance of the Xbox One X. But they didn't really spend too much time on the games, you know, that are going to be exclusive to it. You know, even though Microsoft announced, I think, 26 exclusive games, most of them were not anything special, to be honest with you. You know, there were some indie games out there and stuff like that, but it's just nothing really special. And you know, the whole point of this is it's supposed to give you a different experience that makes you want to use that console. Okay, and so the whole point of this is they're constantly talking about the hardware and how it could do 4K. 4K, 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 and that's something that a lot of these console makers are really pushing, and even VR eventually 4K, 4K. But honestly, y'all could let me know as well. But is 4K gaming experience, is it a need? Is it that much better that you need to have a 4K system? In my opinion, I don't think so. I mean, 4K is not where it's at right now. It's not mainstream. It's definitely not affordable for most people. And honestly, if I'm playing a game, I can't tell too much of a difference between 4K and even up-res gaming. Okay, if you are a really serious gamer, of course you're gonna see those things. So I don't think 4K is enough to warrant to you to buy this game system. And besides Forza, okay, Forza, which it did look really good, but it wasn't like, it didn't blow me away or anything, okay? So now Gazim, as other YouTubers give the impression that if you're not rocking a Titan X or similar, you're not doing PC gaming. Personally, what's this? Personally, I'm rocking a 610 for gaming. Yes, you change your icon logo if you want to keep running a YouTube channel. Okay. My opinion is, I agree with you, but those are like for serious gamers. Okay, for serious gamers, okay, yeah, if you're not running a Titan X, then in a dual card setup or water cooled, then yeah, you are not a true gamer. And so, but I don't think that's the crowd that these people are trying to reach. And so they're trying to reach the people who, in my opinion, who want performance in a console and who probably don't want to go all in on a high-end PC. So that's kind of who I think this crowd or this game console is for. And so going back to the games, there's nothing here on the Xbox One X. Besides Forza, they showed like up-res Assassin's Creed and some that Skull and Crossbow, that Skull Pirates game, which didn't look great at all. And so it's we all know this as gamers. When it comes down to it, you gotta have the games. Okay, and even here, Microsoft simply doesn't have the games. Okay, they might have the most powerful hardware in the world, but if you don't have the games that people want, and also games that actually take advantage of this hardware, it's going to be harder for you to sell. Okay, just look at the Sony PS4 Pro. Definitely the hardware is not as good as this, but where's the support? Where's the 4K games that we were promised, the 4K gaming experience? It's not there. Let me change the game up here. I like to have different games out here, so let's go ahead. So, and if you're wondering what game this is Rocket League. It's on Steam. It's a really fun game. I really enjoy Rocket League. So, okay. So, yeah, so maybe if they released a Rocket League sequel, 4K, exclusive to the Xbox One X, maybe that would get more people to buy it. Okay, so out of the whole Xbox Microsoft conference, I think that was the most significant thing. And I think that was definitely a valuable thing that they showed. Now, in terms of the actual console itself, I like the Xbox One S better. It looks better. I like that white, and maybe they're providing different colors. And so this is basically a smaller version of the Xbox One S. And I understand not having a brand new design, they're using a similar design, it's going to save them a lot of money. Yeah, Shatter, you're right. Rocket League is great fun. And if you don't like soccer, you probably will like soccer games after you play Rocket League. That's a really fun game. So that is the Microsoft press conference. I think they definitely did better than what Sony did, just sheerly by having Xbox One X. Just that alone made it better. But in terms of everything else, yeah, same. Okay. And then the one that I enjoyed the most, and that I was actually surprised from, was actually Nintendo. Man, Nintendo, they really brought out the guns, the big guns. And I did many other videos earlier where I didn't really think the Nintendo Switch, I didn't think it was a must-have, but I was wrong, because there's a lot of people who want the Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo is slowly but surely, they're doing what they do best, is providing games from them as first parties. And so the ones that obviously it really got me like excited about was, first, Super Mario Odyssey, man, that looked amazing. Super Mario Odyssey looked awesome. And I like the fact that they were showing more of the different worlds outside of the city. The graphics were awesome on Super Mario Odyssey. It showed more of his techniques with his hat and stuff. And so I really think, yeah, showing Super Mario Odyssey was a great thing. It reminded me so much of Mario 64 and even like hints of like Super Mario Brothers 2. I don't know why, but I guess it's the whole fantasy element of that as well. And then he's going to all these different worlds. And yeah, I was very, very impressed with Super Mario Odyssey. I can't wait to see the full game. And you know, I've always said this even earlier. If they were to release Super Mario Odyssey along with Zelda at the Nintendo Switch launch, I think it was sold way more. Okay, but in this case, it's already selling, and so whenever they release this, it's gonna sell even more consoles. And then secondly to that, a huge big hitter was Metroid Prime 4. Man, I love Metroid. You know, I remember the very first Metroid on the Nintendo, and then when it came out on the Super Nintendo, Super Metroid, that was sweet. Now, I didn't really get into any of the other Metroids after that because I didn't have the Wii console. Okay, but Metroid is a huge thing, and let me see, it's still in development, so a lot of this stuff, obviously, it's not going to be out till 2018, and I think when is Super Mario Odyssey coming out? September 15th. Okay, well, okay. Metroid, September 15th of this year. Okay, great. And Mario Odyssey should be out October 27th of this year, so should be this year. Yeah. Okay, that's. I guess if I'm wrong on that, you can correct me, but looks like that's when it's coming out. So that's really impressive that they're going to be releasing it this year. It does say, yeah. Yeah, so if I'm wrong on that, you could correct me, but Super Mario Odyssey and Metroid Prime 4. Wow. The rest of the games, yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, most of the games on the Switch aren't mind-blowing anyway, but, you know, when you have stuff like Zelda, Mario, and Metroid, that goes a long way, you know? And so, and there's also a Pokemon game, but, yeah, so I think Nintendo's press conference was the most impressive, just simply because of those two games. And so what else are people saying? Okay, they said, stop talking. Stop talking for 1 second. I'm concentrating on Rocket League game. Yeah. Okay, so Hey Linux says, I tried Rocket League once against some people that were pros. For some reason, I won 20-1 with the guy. Beginners like, what? Oh man, no way. It's a hard game, and you're playing with pros. They destroy you on it. Yeah, Rocket League is definitely fun. And I hope they come out with a sequel soon. I don't think there's been a sequel, but I hope they come out with a sequel. So yeah, Nintendo's press conference was the best. It reminded me, that was kind of weird. It reminded me so much of the Nintendo 64. I don't know why. Because I remember Mario 64 in there. Yeah, it reminded me of the Nintendo 64. And so out of the whole E3, that one's my favorite. Microsoft's second favorite, and the rest pretty much was boring and it sucked. Okay. Now there was one thing interesting out of E3 though. An interesting thing was the presentation done by Devolver Digital. You know, and if you're not familiar with them, they're pretty popular developers, and so and I think they did the Linux version of Shadow Warrior as well, if I remember correctly. But if you haven't seen the Devolver Digital press conference, it was just weird. And I know this stuff was staged, but man, if you want to see some crazy stuff, there was like heads exploding, she was bleeding, and it was crazy. And there was a lot of shock value on this particular conference. And man, yeah, I get it. You're trying to get attention out of E3, but I don't know if that was a good way to get attention. It was cringy, but in a different way, very bloody way. Okay, and so that is the whole E3 2017 press conference. Xbox One X, definitely good for Microsoft to show that, and of course Nintendo, Super Mario Odyssey, Metroid Prime 4. Awesome games. I'm looking forward to it. I might really pick up a Nintendo Switch for those games because by the time that comes out, Zelda is there, and then you have Mario, and then you have Metroid. That's like the trifecta. Okay, so that's really hard for you not to get that console at that point. And so, hey, Linux asking, will Camtasia ever come to Linux? Probably not. I mean, I don't think it's ever coming out, but I actually use the Simple Screen Recorder and OBS, and especially for complex stuff, OBS does an amazing job. So I don't think Camtasia is needed for a Linux user, in my opinion. So that's just for me. And if it does ever come out of Linux, yeah, it's probably going to be $300. I think that's the price. It's $200 to $300. Okay, so moving on to my second part of my live episode. This is something that I did not expect, and Amazon is going to buy Whole Foods, or they're already making the moves, going through the things that they need to buy Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. Wow. And, if you don't keep up with Amazon, you're probably thinking, whoa, Amazon, I go buy stuff online from them. Why are they buying Whole Foods? What does this have anything to do with food? Okay, so Amazon, we think of them as a technology company because they are. We think of them buying stuff, okay? But they also do many other things. Amazon has their web services. And then when it comes to the retail end of it, outside of what we normally know, they have physical stores. They have an Amazon bookstore already in a few places. And also, Amazon does other things in the food area as well. If you haven't noticed or have heard of Amazon Fresh, you could order your groceries and they'll deliver it to you. And then more recently, Amazon, with Amazon Go, their new physical stores, grocery stores, that you could just walk in, pick up what you want, just walk out. Okay, so Amazon is making inroads into this. There's a lot of money in food, especially in food deliveries. And Amazon knows that. And so them buying Whole Foods makes perfect sense. Because if you look at competitors like Walmart, they have food delivery services now. Okay, where you could pick it up. And then also, if you look at other parts of the world, specifically in Asia, they're already used to like getting their food through their phone, buying it, and then having it delivered. And so this is a huge market. This is a huge thing that more and more technology companies are going to be getting into. So don't be surprised if Apple gets into the food business, or Google, which I think they're probably in it already, gets into the food business. This is huge business, okay? Because it marries something that everybody needs. Everybody needs food, okay? But it also puts together technologies. You need technologies to make all of this work. And so Amazon, by doing this, man, this is a huge thing. It's going to allow Amazon to not only dominate a whole area, because Whole Foods is dominant in their area, but at the same time, it also allows them to get a leg up on any of the other technology companies, their competitors. You might even see Facebook get into it as well. And so this is a big thing. And obviously, it's going to have to go through all the regulations. Right now, if they were to buy it at $13.7 billion, that is $42 a share at this point. And actually, I think ever since they announced this, the actual stock prices for both Amazon went up, and also for Whole Foods as well. So Amazon's went up by 2% at the time of this, and then Whole Foods went up by a whopping almost 30%. It went up by 29%, their stock valuation. And so this will be pretty I would say industry changing. Okay, now one of the things that I'm pretty sure they're going to do whenever they buy Whole Foods is they're going to integrate a lot of their Amazon services. Okay, they have already gotten a patent where you cannot browse for other retailers and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, while you're in the store. And a lot of people do that. You go into a store, but then you look for the same product online to see if you could get it cheaper. Okay? And so, yeah, Amazon buying Whole Foods is a huge thing, not only just from the food space, but the whole technology. You can imagine how many different ways Amazon's going to be able to sell to you, and also how much data that they're going to have. They're going to have an insane amount of data. And as anybody knows, if you are in business, technology, any of it, you need data. And the ones who have the best data is usually the ones that's going to have a competitive advantage. So those are my thoughts on Amazon buying Whole Foods. You're going to see more of this, okay? So now, let's go to a bonus round, because those were the two main topics that I wanted to talk about. But as always, there's probably always going to be something Linux related. And so we are talking about screen recorders, okay? There's a conversation going back between Hey Linux and Shatter. And so, okay, so screen recorders for Linux, simple screen recorder and OBS. I think if you have those two, I think that'll cover pretty much all of your screen recording, from the very simple to the more complex, okay? And there are other options out there as well. There is a vocal screen, there's record my desktop, but honestly, I think if you have simple screen recorder and OBS, you don't really need any other screen recorders, in my opinion, for Linux. And then another thing that they talked about is video editing. And I've done videos about both of these things before. And my preferred video editors are two, OpenShot and Kdenlive. I absolutely love those two video editors. OpenShot, amazing for beginners. And also, if you want to do some quick edits, OpenShots is awesome. And then for Kdenlive, you know, I've been using Kdenlive now as my main video editor for, I'd say, like 6 months now. And Kdenlive, it offers a lot of powerful tools, a lot of powerful features, and I absolutely love Kdenlive. And you know, I'm trying to improve my video editing skills, you know, just get better at it. But you know, a lot of my videos, they're very simple editing. I don't spend too much time editing because I really feel like the content is the most important. And so if I do get better at it, it's going to be through Kdenlive. Now there are other options. I think there was DaVinci. I tried installing it on here, but it didn't work, and so I couldn't really try it. And what's another video editor? I don't know, there's some other ones, but for me, similar to the screen recording, if you have OpenShot and Kdenlive, you don't really need any other video editors. So what else? Okay, so he say OpenShot is indeed for beginner and Kdenlive for pro, and both work great. Yes, and then Shatter says, I hope within 1.5 years would, he's talking about, or he or she is talking about, okay. Okay, a stable video editor. Okay, so I think what you're referring to, Shatter, is historically Kdenlive has been unstable. I think that's what you're talking about. And the main reasons why is, you know, it's you know, the team, Kdenlive is pretty complex. Okay, so if you've ever used Kdenlive in the past, you see like some releases work great, and then other releases are unstable and buggy. You know, and that's kind of how Kdenlive has been, but they've gotten a lot better. And so a lot of times if you are having unstable Kdenlive releases, then more than likely you are getting it from the software center, okay? And a lot of times your software center has an older version of Kdenlive. And if the version in a software center or in the repositories is one that's buggy, then that's not good. So what I recommend is go download the latest version of Kdenlive. Okay, so if you tried one from the repositories and it's buggy, you know, go try and download a new one, which is what I did. I downloaded a new version of Kdenlive, and I have had no problems with it. I think it's only like crashed just a few times. Okay, so let me change this again. I'm getting bored of this one, so yeah, I wish the match would keep on going. So okay, so Kdenlive, yeah, that's kind of weird, Hey Linux, because I mean, it doesn't crash for me, and I think I do have the newest version. Let me see what version I have. I don't think I have 17.04, but let me escape this real quick. Okay. Fortunately, I'm going to have to exit the game real quick. So let's see what version I have. You have version 17.04. I have version no, that's not it. About Kden Live. Okay, I have version 16.12.3. So you're pretty much a few versions up from me, and so I guess 17.04 is bugged. So is it like consistently crashing? I mean, like, or is it just randomly crashing? Okay, because at least for the version I have 16.12.3, I haven't had any problems. It's been working really great. And I also wonder if sometimes the crash could be related with the hardware that you have as well. I think that might be it. Now for me, yeah, I'm running this on Linux Mint. Okay, so Hey Linux says I find Kden Live 15.12 to be the most stable. Okay, so Kden Live is something that I think if you really get into Kden Live, you could do some amazing things on it. Okay, and I like I said, I'm still learning Kden Live, but I've been able to do some things that I didn't think were possible, and then just looking at some people who use it really well, like a pro Kden Live user, it is a pretty sweet tool. And I'm so glad that, I mean, and I've mentioned this many times before, the people who produce this open source software, donate to them if you like using their software. I mean, these are complex pieces of software, and then even providing support however they can, it takes a lot of effort. And so, yeah, I would just recommend if there is an open source software, or even if it's not open source, if it is a software that you enjoy using, help them out, donate a few bucks. Okay, so Shatter says, I did install the latest Kden Live, and it did crash during my 2/3 editing. Okay. Yeah, Hey Linux, I donate 100 pounds to Linux Project. Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, I donate as well to the software or the communities that I enjoy, and I find myself doing that a lot more for Linux related projects. Okay, I do that much more than I do for any other projects. Okay, and so I think that's about it for this episode. I talked about E3 2017, how it just basically sucked. Talked about Amazon buying Whole Foods, and then also as a bonus, we talked a little bit about video editing in Linux. And maybe on a future episode, maybe we could talk more about the Linux tools that you like using. Yeah, so Shatter says, I'm not a fan of freemium software, but open source is great. Yes. Hey Linux says, take in mind, I'm just 12. My parents were not so happy to spend my money. Well, thank you so much for pointing that out. Hey Linux, because there are lots of people from different age ranges that actually use Linux, and that's one thing that I really love about Linux, because it brings in different people from different communities, different age ranges, but at the same time there's a commonality with the Linux community, and I probably mentioned that so many times. So that's it for this episode. I really want to thank everybody who was on here, who actually joined these live episodes. Thank you, Shatter. Thank you, Hey Linux. I'm not sure who else is on here, but I really, really appreciate all of you being on here. And I will try to do this, once again, regularly on Saturdays. And so I'm going to try to do them at 9 a.m. Central US time. And so look out for live episodes. And also, if you had any ideas for future live episodes, be sure to leave them in the comments area below, because normally what I do with my live episodes is something that I kind of do pretty much with my brothers. Me and my two other brothers, we do a show called Geek Bros Talk. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I have a playlist for that as well. And we just talk about geek stuff, technology stuff. And we try to do it weekly, whenever my brother's schedules, they're able to do that. So in this way, I'm able to do the same thing with the Geek Outdoors and Geek community. So we kind of have a discussion on what's going on this week on geeky stuff, technologies, movies, whatever the case. So it's pretty much the same format, and I really like this type of dialogue because there's a lot of ideas there, and at the same time, we're able to talk about geeky stuff, and so OpenShot beginner, yeah, Previdi, okay, Pitby is another one as well. Okay, thanks a lot for watching, y'all. And as always, if you did get a lot of value out of these videos, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you did want to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/geekoutdoors. So we'll see you on another live episode.